Welcome to the Gruber Morning Show. This is the weekly EV portion of our podcast. I'm Pete Gruber.
I'm Mark Schaffner. Good morning. Welcome, everybody.
And today we're going to, the main topic is the RoboTaxi launch in Austin, Texas.
Yeah, I think we'll probably spend some time on that particular one. That's a very exciting development for Tesla. Let's get into it.
So this is the first time that Tesla has allowed driverless robo-taxis to pick up members of the public and take them around via ride sharing, which they have been developing for a number of years. They are initially using Model Ys and Model 3s for this. And the robo-taxi platform is currently geofenced in a small portion of South Austin. And what that means essentially is that it's confined to a certain GPS type area and for testing purposes. There's a fixed price for this service right now, and it's $4.20 for any ride. And you were speculating there might be a rhyme or reason behind that.
I happen to think that this would not be the first time Elon has put something out with the 420 moniker. Mm-hmm. For those that are in the cannabis culture, 420 has a lot of meaning.
It does indeed. And regardless of duration or distance at this point, however, the future fares will vary with based on travel distance, length of trip, and potentially time of day as well. There are safety monitors, human beings in every car, in the front seat and the passenger seat for this initial launch. And they are there to make sure that things go smoothly with each ride. Now, when I thought about that, when you have the cars that were used for student drivers, mm-hmm. right? The passenger side is fully equipped with brakes and steering wheel.
Right.
This one is not. So I'm thinking, is this person there to observe only and potentially be part of a disaster? But I think in order to meet that goal of being a driverless vehicle, they couldn't give him a wheel and brakes, although I'm sure that whoever's doing that job would have preferred that.
I'm sure that they probably would have. Although I liken it to software development. When you're just about ready to roll everything out, you roll it out to a limited number of people for beta testing. Mm-hmm. And that beta testing oftentimes includes direct access to the developers or hand-holding from the people that made the software to make sure that everything goes as expected.
Correct, yeah. So the big takeaway by the way here is that the RoboTaxi launch is a new phase for Tesla in terms of generating additional revenue through this new stream. And as they continue to roll out the RoboTaxi fleet, it will expand potential revenue opportunities for Tesla, potentially, they say, creating billions upon trillions of dollars in value. So again, as we've been saying, Tesla is not just a car company. We really have to put them into different categories. Looks like some comments are coming in here.
Yes, Highlander has joined us to start with, and good morning, Highlander. He's on YouTube. There's popcorn and lemonade on the ready.
Thanks for joining us. We did get your email about a half hour ago or so, and we'll talk about the event in Muskegan later on in the show here. And thanks for all of that additional information and those images, by the way. So let's talk about a bit more about this launch. And I asked GPT, I said, what are the key advantages of this? And it said, removing driver costs dramatically lowers per mile expenses. They say industry estimates suggest fees between 30 to 50 cents per mile, potentially undercutting traditional ride-hailing fares. Well, that makes sense. I mean, you have to have a taxi cab driver, right?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of idle time.
And nowadays, 30 cents a mile is 10% mm-hmm. of a traditional cab. Cabs are up to about $3 a mile now.
Is that high? Wow, I haven't taken one in ages.
I happened to be on a business trip this last week, and I was my jaw hit the floor when the cab was $2.94 a mile.
Wow. So they say that Tesla data suggests that a single robo-taxi traveling 70,000 miles annually could generate for the owner 35,000 to 70,000 in revenue.
That's not a lot of annual miles
Yeah.
for a taxi service.
So then, scalability, they talk about that, or GPT. Tesla plans to onboard current Model 3 and Y owners into the Tesla network, turning their vehicles into revenue-generating taxis. And then, utilizing this massive fleet, it says, and proprietary AI vision stack allows Tesla to expand faster and more efficiently than those building fleets from scratch. Now, Waymo, of course, is there already.
Right.
But this will definitely be a cottage industry, and there will be a lot of Johnny-come-latelys that will want to get in on this big, cash opportunity.
Well, and how many people are going to sign on to Tesla when Tesla comes to them and says, your Model Y Juniper that you just bought, we'll pay your payments and we'll give you an extra $500 a month if you'll let us use the Model Y as a taxi while you're at work.
What a competitive edge, huh?
Yeah.
Amazing. A few comments coming in. Instagram, Blocka30349, he says, I'm a big fan and I'm a technician too. Well, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Highlander says, my 69 Roadrunner head, strong arm, power steering, and strong legs. Brakes means that there was no power steering and no power brakes. Yeah, very true.
Yeah, we both harken back to the days when power steering and power brakes meant how much power did you have to use to steer and brake.
Yeah, pretty much. And Highlander also says, when we were in Michigan meet this weekend, Muskegan, Michigan, by the way, suddenly everybody started leaving. They got invites to the RoboTaxi, and they were jumping on planes. Like, where's everybody going? LOL.
Oh, that's got to be funny. Because there were some big names there. I saw a Bearded Tesla guy was there, and Sandy Monroe, and several others.
Yeah, we've got a list of them here. It turns out Farzad was one of the ones there. And he launched a video, which this morning, according to Jesse, was on the trending list. He had 444,000 views within the first 24 hours.
Wow.
And I would suggest you look for the video, because he basically gets in one of these vehicles in Austin, and he goes through the whole process, pays his $4.20, all of that.
Yep.
All right. So again, GPT is talking about what are the advantages of all of this. And they talk about vertically integrated tech stack. Well, Tesla relies exclusively on camera-based vision without LiDAR and radar like Waymo uses. And it is using evolving full self-driving software and the Dojo supercomputer. Remember, now this is an Elon creation.
Yes.
A massive computer to improve continuously. So it may just be the case that using AI and using vision will become the more sought-after method of doing this level 5 eventually.
Therein lies, I think, their secret sauce. It's kind of like about Dojo, about their AI capabilities, but not really. On the surface that they have it, and you don't really dig deep and understand what's under the covers. That's got the potential to really be something that separates Tesla from all other competitors.
And you have to give them a lot of credit for their ability to have vision that sees beyond what currently is and what will be. Creating the Dojo supercomputer is definitely part of will be a tool that will separate them. Can you imagine Ford or GM doing anything like this? They're going to license this technology.
Oh yeah,
they're not going to be able to create it themselves.
Yeah, they're not going to take an extra $1 billion and build a massive factory in the middle of, I think it's Tennessee or something like that, and sit 300,000 new CPUs together or GPUs together to create artificial intelligence. They're just going to say, no, we're a car company. Why would we do that?
And of course, they won't use it for just full self-driving. They're going to use it for the Optimus robot. They're going to use it for their AI programs. Even the social media, X, will be able to run on things like this. So, again, they get high grades for vision.
Yeah, absolutely.
And synergy. And it talks about this in-house development, according to GPT, chips system software supports faster integration and tighter cost control for Tesla. And then the high growth model they talk about, transitioning to autonomous ride hailing transforms Tesla from a car maker to a mobility provider. A higher margin, scalable software as service model. Now, analysts project that this could add $1 trillion to Tesla's valuation by 2026. Remember, we're talking about a year away.
That would almost double their stock price.
Yeah. Now, we're not giving stock advice here.
No.
All right, Highlander says, think of all the people that could help homebound seniors, people whose the bus lines are too far away, and I think it's going to do a lot of good. Absolutely. Block 30349 says, thank you for the warm welcome.
Yep.
YouTube, Neighbors Prod says, what are we talking about?
We are. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Yes.
We're talking about the rollout of the RoboTaxi, and these are some of the advantages that Tesla has with that.
Yep. So this, of course, this whole new technology, well, new to Tesla at least, because Waymo's been doing it 5 years. We'll get into that in a moment here. This is definitely raising the interest of regulators, NHTSA, for example. And there were, although this launch was generally smooth, there were some hiccups. Lane crossing, speed issues, all of this was observed by NHTSA, who was very carefully monitoring at this point. The fully autonomous, and this is the future now, the fully autonomous cybercab will be a purpose-built level 4 without the steering wheel or pedals, is planned for production in 2026 or 2027, expected to cost just under $30,000. And Elon still targets scaling that to hundreds of thousands, maybe 1 million robotaxis by the end of 2026.
You know, when you think about it, the RoboTaxi, will the RoboTaxi have to have locks on its doors?
Wow, there's a good question.
It may not.
Yeah.
That's one of many things that you can just pull out of it because it's always going to be either driving or in a supervised facility.
And how would you hotwire a robotaxi to steal it?
You can't.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, because it's always out and driving, or it's at a facility with 5,000 other robotaxis.
Right. All right. They do talk about Tesla's camera-only approach, which offers a lower cost compared to the LiDAR type systems, and it may lag in robustness, especially in challenging weather conditions or lighting conditions.
Yeah, do you remember we were talking about the riots and had estimates of, what was it, something around $100,000 for the Waymo LiDAR system fully installed and everything, that the base car was $75,000. And for the cameras for a Model Y, like $3,000.
Far more cost effective if they can get it to operate at the level of a LiDAR system.
Yes.
Well, the road ahead, according to GPT, for this whole robotaxi concept is this year through 26, expand pilot to around 1,000 vehicles across multiple cities. Right now, it's only in Austin in a very tightly controlled, geolocated area. But they will roll out in major cities within this next year. They say markets like Los Angeles and San Francisco. By 2026 to 27, they will begin production of full driverless cybercab and robo vans. Remember, it wasn't just the robotaxi. There was a shuttle vehicle, the robo van, which was included in that. This will have no steering wheel, no pedals, and cheaper cost per mile. And then 2026 onward, the Tesla network opens to owner vehicles, scaling to hundreds of thousands to 1 million vehicles, which of course is a distinct advantage Tesla has because no other EV manufacturer has that large an installed base.
Right, and because all the cars are connected to the AI already, people who have full self-driving, again, they could just get a call from Tesla someday that says, keep your car when you need it, but when you don't, will pay your monthly payments plus some to use your car.
Yeah, exactly, which makes, of course, the cost of ownership so much lower, which gives them a distinct competitive advantage.
Yeah.
that no one
It's
can match.
really kind of mind-blowing to think about. And there's a ways to go from here to there, but the pace of change that we've seen, we go back 2 years, Jesse can confirm for us, there was no Chat GPT, much less any of this autonomous stuff.
Yeah, all we had was Jesse.
Yeah. Is that right, Jesse, or was it a little over 2 years ago that Chat GPT was out?
Yeah, ChatGPT, as we know it, the first big ChatGPT 3 came out that kind of started this revolution and went viral in October of 2023.
That's less than 2 years.
Yeah, yeah. I've got an image we can pop up here. We're talking a lot about this, full autonomous driving and the different levels. And here's a chart that you might find interesting. 0, of course, level is full manual driving. That's what we've been doing for over 100 years and killing each other on the road, right?
Yeah.
Level 1 is adaptive cruise. Remember cruise control?
Yes.
That was like AI back in the day. We all thought this is just marvelous. The car actually takes over the gas pedal, and it was a gas pedal,
Yes, it was.
and it drives the car. Level 2, that was the Tesla autopilot today. The full self, or
Sure.
the driver assist, I guess is the right term for that. And then level 3. Autonomy is conditional. Sometimes driver involvement is required, and that's the deal with you have to put your hand on the steering wheel every once in a while to let the car know that you're an occupant in the car, and then it's not on full self-driving without a driver.
And that's basically Tesla full self-driving today.
Yeah, yeah. Now, level 4 is where we are right now, and that's where Waymo is, and that's where Tesla is going. Fully autonomous within a geofence. And then the final level 5, which is where we all would like to get, it's full autonomous driving everywhere. Humans are no longer piloting these 2,000-pound missiles. And what will happen to insurance companies, you were asking?
Yeah, I mean, it's now I was thinking that insurance companies might be like the gas companies of old. The price of oil is very volatile. Sometimes it's $100 a barrel, sometimes it's $50 a barrel. And when it goes from 50 to 100 is not when the gas companies are making their profits. It's when it goes from 100 to 50. Because they'll step up their prices to keep up with the costs so that they still make money. When the costs come down, they kind of try to hide that the costs have come down, and they keep their rates high.
Yeah.
So for a little while, I could see insurance companies doing really well, but then competition takes over, and the next thing you know, the entire industry is set for a shakeout.
So with the transition to AI and these kinds of technologies, we're always speculating what is the next industry that's going to go away. Well, auto collision.
Yeah.
Why do you need it?
Yeah, and now you're talking collision centers, you're talking the insurance companies. That's an entire industry that has a chance of being heavily disrupted.
And here's a graph that supports that. And this is today, folks. This is a graph that shows crash rates per million miles. And if you notice on the U.S. average right there, almost 4 per million miles crashes. Waymo, not doing quite as well as Tesla is at this point. 1, and then Tesla is at 0.15. So, yeah, there's a strong argument here. If we can get human drivers off the road, the crash rates are going to go down.
Yeah, instead of roughly 4 crashes per million miles, you have 1 crash per 7 million miles.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay. We've got a bunch more comments here coming in.
First, we'll have Will Wilbert on Facebook. He says, "Blessings. I truly appreciate your work. Super amazing," with a thumbs up and a trophy. Can't wait to get another one. Then Finks Automotive. Hey, thank you guys for joining us today, coming back. He said he watched a Kim Java video. Kim Java posted a video riding in a RoboTaxi The car was driving with blinding sunlight on the cameras and it performed flawlessly, albeit the car did experience some phantom braking.
Interesting. Uh-huh. And then Facebook, Will Wilbit says, LOL, Jesse. Vote for Jesse. All right.
Yeah.
You know, before we close out the portion about the RoboTaxi and full self-driving, I did want to add a perspective about where Waymo has been. And there was a cool video that I was just watching this morning. And it basically said Waymo has been doing this supervised driving for 3 years. In Los Angeles, where the video was and where this where the videographer lived, he says you can't go 5 minutes without seeing a driverless Waymo. In certain parts of Phoenix, it's the same situation.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So you might wonder, well, how much driving does Waymo actually do? They're doing 200,000 rides per week.
Wow.
And that's 13 million rides this year alone. They do make a case that Waymo is so much further ahead than Tesla. And Waymo uses LiDAR to get to level 5, or is using LiDAR to try to get to level 5. Tesla is using AI and vision, which is a lot cheaper to do. So we'll see, the race is on right now.
It really is. We'll see how fast Tesla can catch up. We've seen Waymo have its hiccups. Do you remember when it's about 3 years ago that Waymo, with a supervised driving, somebody was in the car, they were so used to it that they were looking down texting, and it hit somebody in Tempe.
Yeah, I remember that, a bike rider, I think, or something.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it killed the bike rider. And so that pulled Waymo off the vehicle, off of the streets for a few months. But they got through that. They continue to grow.
Yep, I remember that. Highlander says, my poor little Dodge almost got hit by this lady who was putting on her makeup and texting at the same time. Amen. I see that all the time. With RoboTaxi, we don't have to worry about these things. They can put up their makeup. They can have lunch in the back. They can read a book. They can watch TV. Well, you don't do that anymore. You watch screens, right?
Yeah, you watch
cell phones
screens.
or whatever. All right, got an image to pop up here. This one had me chuckling a bit. Ferrari reportedly delays second EV model due to zero demand. Well, the article then is a little bit more gentle, and it says that Ferrari has officially postponed planned for 2026 to 2028, citing weak demand and near zero customer interest. Well, why do we think that is? Well, they state the reason that we've been stating all along, and it reads like this. There's an emotional disconnect with these cars. Many Ferrari enthusiasts crave the visceral experience of a roaring V8 or V12 engine, something that EVs cannot replicate. Of course, they try, and we'll talk about some of the attempts to make that work. It turns out Maserati is also scrapping one EV project due to soft EV demand. There's another one here. Market saturation they talk about. While global EV sales are booming, growth is concentrated in lower costs, mass market models, not the ultra premium high performance vehicle. No secret there.
No secret. I've heard that Lamborghini is also rethinking some of their EV plans for much the same reason. We were talking just before this. Look practically. It used to be that a $2 million supercar would have a 0 to 60 in about 2.3 to 2.6 seconds. And would have a top speed of 220 or 230 miles an hour. For practical purposes, I can go out and buy myself a Lucid Air on a lease for $800 a month, and I can get that same 2.4 second 0 to 60 if I know how to drive it properly. So why would I want a supercar? I don't care. It's the performance is the same, because of course, where am I ever going to go that I can get even 120 miles an hour, and much less 220 miles an hour? It doesn't matter that the Lucid has a top speed of about 135, or a Tesla Plaid that has a top speed of 140, because so if your average Joe or your average Mark, can go out and do this, what is somebody who has one of these supercars going to say that when I could beat them off the line up to 60 miles an hour? It's humiliating to them. They're going to feel like they're wasting money.
Yeah.
All they've got left is the sound.
You know, I'm very much concerned about the Italian exotics or even the UK exotics like McLaren. I think there's an existential threat to all of this. Will we re-identify in EVs what this group of enthusiasts used to look for? And what will that be? You know, will it be comfort? Will it be body style? Will it be, and we're not too far away, VTOLs? Will it be flying cars? It's very disruptive right now, and I'm just not certain that the same audience that used to clamor for the Lamborghinis and Ferraris are going to find anything acceptable as we transition.
I think you may be exactly right, because the people who will own these supercars in many cases are in an aging generation. They're the ones that may have owned an early Dodge Hemi or a Barracuda or a Javelin, and they loved it for the sound, and now they get a nice bigger car with better sound. Today's generation is growing up with the silence and performance of an EV. They won't care about the sound.
Yeah. And then if you extrapolate that out even further, the future won't even be driving. They may not allow them to. You know, or you have such steep insurance rates if you get a car with a steering wheel that it's cost prohibitive.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's how many people would you have known growing up who would say, I'm not that interested in a driver's license?
Not while I was growing up.
No,
Yeah.
it was a rite of passage.
But nowadays?
I mean, the worst thing to me about moving from Idaho to Alaska was that in Idaho, I was going to be able to get a driver's license at 14, and in Alaska, I had to wait till 16.
Really?
And but nowadays, I know a number of people who are my kids' age who, they might get a driver's license eventually, or it's not convenient for them.
Yeah. So transportation is changing rapidly, and I'm not sure that any of these Italian exotics are going to be able to survive this transition.
Good point.
So in the meantime, though, there are companies that are attempting to replicate this visceral experience, especially the sound. And it just doesn't sound like it's going to be something viable. For example, Mercedes-AMG has published a teaser video featuring its new electric sedan. The prototype appears to have a V8 interior sound. Well, okay. Can you imagine going down the road, your windows are rolled up, and that sound is there just for you? Part of the aura, I think, is to let everybody else know you're coming. I mean, that's what you see with the rice burners that are out there, that are crackling and popping, and that annoying leaf blower sound that sometimes just irritates, the heck out of you on the road. Yeah,
and then all the little backfires. Because of the way they have it tuned, so that every time they slow down, it's popping, and it's like, okay.
Of course, the same could be said about my generation. The V8, the V12 sound. To me, a properly tuned V12 in a Lambo, for example, is a symphony of sounds. But that's probably unique to my generation. To someone else, it may sound just as annoying as that, four-cylinder turbocharged engine that's making all kinds of leaf blower noises.
Sure.
Let us know what you think about any of this. We're definitely going on a rant here. Instagram is joining us, Goonan Gaming. He says, what's up? Well, we're in the middle of a podcast. Thanks for joining us.
Having a fun time.
Yeah.
Highlander also joins us on YouTube. He says, I've got a video showing me driving the Tesla Plaid at 135 miles an hour in my kilt.
Amazing. That would be a great video to air. So, now Mercedes-AMG is one. Hyundai's Ioniq 5 also features a combustion engine sound to make it, as they say, more exciting. And it also features simulated gears and a simulated rev limiter. I can't get my head around how the engineers are thinking that the public is going to be fooled with this.
I don't either. What would be, in 50 years, somebody's going to come across one of these cars and they're going to say, that is so dumb.
Yeah. Dodge, of course, took a different direction with its patented Fratsonic exhaust, and it's basically an exterior speaker now that emulates the sound of a V8 in hopes of making its electric charger more attractive. And then there's also the hot Abarth version of the 500e Fiat that employs a similar solution to make it sound like an ICE car from the outside. So we're going to have a lot of fun with these cars coming out, and there's probably going to be some disappointment on the parts of the people creating these cars in terms of sales. All right, so we have the Muskegan event. For those of you unfamiliar, that's what Highlander went to, and I've got an image here that we can pop up. There we go. What is noteworthy about this image is this was the promotional, image, and somehow they managed to get 5 maroon Teslas in there and 1 Fusion Red Roadster.
Yeah.
And it turns out that out of the 870 or so cars that were there, only one of them was a Roadster, a Tesla Roadster. It's the one on the far left there. That happens to be VIN number 828. Which belongs to one of our customers. That car spent some time here last year getting a lot of upgrades. And like most Roadsters, it's a beautiful car. They had a Tesla light show Friday evening, a light and drone spectacle, they called it. And correct me if I'm wrong here, Highlander, you were there. There were 98 Teslas that were synchronized in a dazzling nighttime display, they say. It was an ambitious attempt to create the world's largest EV light show. And let me show you a picture of what that looked like. Here we go. It turns out it was not the largest. The largest Tesla light show to date was in Belgium, and it was 1,150 Teslas and a drone show. The second largest was in Finland. Notice these are in Europe now.
Yes. With
687 Teslas that were set to Darude's Sandstorm.
Ooh, wow.
And then in Korea, there was a Tesla light show with over 1,000 Teslas. So this one was not one of the largest, but it was one of the more memorable, according to the people that were there.
I watched about half of that video this morning, and the Teslas were good. They're synchronized, and we've seen that.
Yeah.
The drones and the conductor on the drones going like this, that was pretty impressive, I have to admit.
And what they're doing with these drones, actually replicating gigantic light shows in the sky, choreographed.
Yeah, that was really impressive, the way they did that. Or they had the fuse down to a stick of dynamite. The dynamite explodes into a Cybertruck.
Right.
Logo, and it was well done. It really. I'm glad that somebody was able to capture the video.
Dave's got a great post up there. He says, "Pete, wasn't your generation driving a Duesenberg?" A little bit later than that. Instagram, Vladimir V says, "Sound is just a software feature." Yeah,
true.
And then Instagram, Zekigultekin35. You couldn't pronounce that, could you?
I could not have.
Hello, good publications. Thank you.
Thank you.
So getting back to the Muskegan Light Show or the Tesla event, there were panel discussions. And it turns out that Friday night, there was a windstorm. And you know how these shows typically have a bunch of these little display tents? Thanks to Highlander, who was there, he sent us the aftermath of the Saturday, the event, and a bunch of tents like this were just mangled and blown into the various parts of the neighborhood there.
Oh man!
So yeah, that was an unfortunate portion of this event. But the panel discussions, there were keynote speakers there, and they featured Tesla experts like Sandy Munro, Kevin G., Simon Pollock, the bearded Tesla guy, who oftentimes chimes in here as well, and John Harity. And they covered topics from EV tech to global Tesla culture. I find that these events are very, they're consensus building, basically.
Yeah.
They strengthen the community. And it definitely builds the brand, the Tesla brand,
Oh,
or any other
definitely.
EV brand. The one that I went to in Flachau, Austria a year ago or so, my keynote speech was, what do you think would happen if Tesla had gone bankrupt? Because they were right inches from bankruptcy.
Right.
Would the EV revolution ever have started? And if, who would have started it? These are all compelling questions. I had fun with this one.
That would have been a fun one to listen
Yeah.
to, because not only did Tesla nearly go bankrupt with the Roadster, they were less than a week away, as the legends go, from being cash bankrupt and forced into insolvency with the Model 3.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I think the way the legend goes, because I can't say I verified it, was that on Tuesday they didn't have enough cash to make payroll on Friday.
Yeah. And you know, I speak from personal experience here, having done this for 40 years and gone through building a business like this or businesses like this. My hat's off to Elon, and he deserves all those billions. It is grueling.
Yeah.
You literally have to put your personal life on hold. And, you know, there are sleepless nights.
Yeah.
So if billions is the offset, let him have it. Highlander says, it was built as North America's largest, Pete. I'm actually good friends with both the drone people we had to cancel the Saturday show. They were going to put up a submarine in the sky just for Highlander.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Instagram, Vladimir V says, I like your podcast. Interesting discussions.
Thank you.
Well, we have fun. Thank you. And then Highlander says, yeah, one of the 10 hit me. You're kidding. The camping tents. I invited General Motors, and they showed up, and we were happy to have them. Plenty of room for everybody.
Very cool.
Yeah, those must have been quite the wins in order to have created that kind of havoc. Well, Mark, we're coming way past the half-hour mark here. Do you have anything else?
I don't have anything else for today.
All right. Well, again, thank you for joining us. We're having fun. Tomorrow we have the AI podcast, and at 10 o'clock, same time. And then a couple other podcasts, Thursday and Friday.
Yeah, for COM and for our Power Systems group.
So thank you for joining us. I'm Pete Gruber.
I'm Mark Schaffner. Take care.